Hello, this is a tutorial for working from a sculpture to your 3D model. So I'm going to start off. This is just a sphere that's built into Zbrush. I'm just going to sculpt something fairly quick, like a head or something. Doesn't matter what you make here. It's just for practice. So floor off. Since I'm using Zbrush 4.2, I've got this Dynamesh that I can use, and it means that I can get extra detail and put into this and then Dynamesh it back into one resolution like this. So I'm just going to do this face fairly quickly. Let's assume this is the final model that's ready to be brought back into the game. Sorry, when you make like a high poly model, your UVs need to be redone, the topology needs to be redone. So that's a couple of the things I'm going to show you. In my workflow, at least, I use 3D Coat, which is available for a 30-day free trial, and there's an educational license as well, which isn't too expensive. It's not a very good looking face, but you get the idea. Right, so let's say that was like a alien head thing. Let me just make it a bit more obvious. Right, and when you're wanting to re-topologize, hard one to say. If you want to re-topologize and you want to use ZBrush, then good luck, but I don't like using ZBrush's re-topology tools because they're a little bit footery to use, a little bit difficult. So I will, seeing this is 61,000 polys, it's fairly small, but let's assume I had loads of detail in this, a bit more shape. I want to decimate it so there's low enough polys for the next application to handle. So I want to kind of bring it down to about 20,000, so that's about a third of what it is. Now I've got a Z plugin thing here called Decimation Master, so I want to bring it down to about 30% of what it is. So first I have to do pre-process current, and that does some calculations here to work out, and then back to the plugin and decimate current, and there you go, it's brought it down to 18,500 polys, and none of the details really been lost. The only thing that's changed is the wireframes full of triangles, so this is where it needs to be re-topologized. So I've got it low enough poly to export out now, so I'm just going to export it. Just put it on my desktop at the minute, and I'll put this mesh from ZB, and I'm going to open up 3D Coat. You can find 3D Coat at www.3dcoat.com. and you can download the demos. I think it's a 30-day trial you get. There you go. Fully functional for 30 days, and the educational license isn't that expensive, and it's a really good, you know, midway application to use. The re-topology tools are great, so I'll show you some of those. It's a 3D quote decides to run. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to import reference mesh. And I'm looking for the OBJ mesh from ZB. Okay, so there it is. You can use the alt keys and the the mouse buttons to pan about. So right mouse button to pan in and out, left to rotate round, and middle to pan around. You don't need the alt key to move around this. So it's quite intuitive. First thing you want to do for your re-topology is turn your symmetry on. So up to symmetry and across x-axis, and you can either show it or not. Show symmetry plane. I'll leave it on just now. And you click on this re-topo tab, which is for re-topology, and you choose, I choose points and faces. It's quite easy to use, and you click one place that you created, the first vert of your new topology. This one there, and every time you click 4, when you go into the middle, not pressing anything, I'm just hovering around the middle, and it's gonna, you want to create a polygon, so you right click and it creates it for you. So you create another 2 with your left mouse button, and if I create one like there and I don't want it there, I can hover over it until it goes white and press delete. It goes away. I can also hover over this area and just hold down the right mouse button and move, and I can sort of refine that. Or what I'll do is I'll undo it, delete, and I can move that one, and then I can right click. Same thing. So I'm clicking the left mouse button and then the right mouse button to create my new topology. Okay. So I've not got the most ideal model here to show you, but you kind of want to do around the eye, like in a loop. You probably know what I mean. Keep everything quite tidy. Put one there. So keep going like that. Let's see, so it's going to go round like that. If you want to see how the looping works, you could do split rings, and you can see the loop's going that way. I kind of wanted the loop to go round the eye altogether, but I can do that in the next one. So let's see, create one there. So I'm just holding down the right mouse button to move one of the points. So if I click a point and I hover over it, it goes white, and I can move it around. You can use 3D coat for everything that Zbrush does. Mudbox, it kind of competes with them. It uses kind of voxel sculpting, doesn't depend too much on polygons and stuff, and then you can pretty much do the whole workflow in 3D coat if you want. But it's got a little bit of a learning curve. Maybe not as much as Zbrush, but it's got a lot of cool tools that I've yet to learn because I still use Zbrush at the end of the day. because it's really good. I spent a lot of time learning it. So now it gets a bit tricky here. It's hard to see things. You know, bits like this, I'll leave them out and I'll do these bits in 3ds Max. Just where it gets a little bit tricky. You see I'm kind of doing multiple faces there. I can join that bit up. I'm not being super precise with it. Depends, topology really depends on what you're doing with the model and what kind of texture's going on it. If the texture's going to have detail or be covered. Yeah, it all depends. This topology is a bit messy here, and it always starts out a bit messy. That's terrible looking. So if I go to split rings here, I'm getting all kinds of stuff. But you can go to delete polygons, and you can just start deleting ones that you don't like. You can turn out yellow. So make polys is points and faces. There's a few other ones here. You can use quads, which means you click on an existing edge or vert or something. I think it's the edge you go onto, and it creates 2 points from that, and you create the other 2 points, and that's you made that one. And then if you hover over bits, it will kind of go to these edges kind of automatically. You create the third or fourth point. But I find this a little bit tricky. It's a bit kind of like you're having to walk around certain edges, but other people might like that. You can press escape to come out of certain modes, or you can click on other modes there. I prefer this one because it's much quicker. It just seems more natural. Right, so I'm trying to do the topology here. It gets a little bit awkward. Right, let's say that's the finished model. I don't want to spend all day doing this full thing. Let's just say that's the model, re-topologized. You can do the UV side of it here if you want, but I don't really know how to do the UV properly in 3D Coat. So export out, you go to your re-topology and go to export. You can apply the symmetry if you want, but seeing it's a symmetrical, I'm just going to export it as it is, and I'll apply the symmetry in 3ds Max. So mesh from 3DC, and from here I would have to do the UV mapping. So I'd open up 3ds Max or Maya or whatever you use. I've typed up a document to go along with this video, so I'll post the video and the document together in the forum. So make sure you check out the document if you're watching the video. I'll probably post a text version of it on YouTube in the caption area, so that you can read the workflow out. Sorry if there's a buzzing in my video. I think it's just the PC makes a kind of buzzing sound internally, so it makes its way through to the mic or through to the video somehow. Don't worry about this Exolio shader, I've got this added as a plugin, but I don't really use it anymore. It just seems I can't uninstall it. So now we want to import the re-topologized version. So import, and I put it on the desktop. It's an OBJ, mesh from 3D core. Okay. Okay, and it's just done the one side of it. So from here, you know, I would clean bits up. So let's see, I'll put a symmetry modifier on it. It does need a lot of tweaking. Also needs scaled up a lot. Change that edit poly, collapse to that. Okay. If you see me doing a lot of things really quickly here, I'm just trying to get the model set up properly. I'm not going to bother welding the seam just now. There's a few strange artifacts happening there. There we go. That's it. Right, so I've got the seam welded for the symmetry, and now I'd clean up a little bit, like I'd continue what I was doing there. The geometry, so I'll maybe choose this edge here. Probably just bridge that over with that, and then choose that order and cap it off. Whoa. Right, it's really sensitive, so it means the scale's really small. So this object needs to be scaled up a lot. Just must be some interpretation when I export it out from 3D Core. So now when I move around it won't jump as much. In fact, it jumps a lot more now, so maybe it needs scaled down. I don't know why that's happening. Let's see. Let's see how big it actually is. Yeah, it's fairly big. No biggie, it can be rescaled in the end. So as long as it makes the job easier to do this side of things. Right, so I want to connect these points up here. I'm going to polygon mode, and I'll create. And I make sure I go anti-clockwise. If I go clockwise, it will flip the face the other way. So if I go like that, clockwise, it usually flips the face. Might be just an old thing. Turn on back face cull, you'll maybe see it. Oh, it must have been fixed to point the camera, so that's okay. So from here I can fix a few of these bits. Again, it's moving far too much. Really sensitive. Change that to world. That's better. Okay, so I think the local scaling's a bit off, so I might want to reset the X form on it. So I'd collapse to there. Come into my little hammer, reset X form, reset selected, and collapse to that. I'm going to choose all these again and reapply the symmetry, and hopefully now if I want to move a vert about in local mode, it might not go so crazy. That's a lot better. Okay, so that reset X form fixed some of the internal scaling, which was all over the bit. It means when I try to move something it went too far. It was some kind of scalar factor was way out. So I'll just toggle the finished version, and let's say that's what I wanted, you know, this kind of weird looking mask thing. So let me just take a couple of these away so it looks like one of those Phantom of the Opera type mask things. Right, and I could put turbo smooth on it there if I want as well. You can see the looping here is wrong. I might want to fix that. Which means that I need to put a cut across there. Pop that there. Let's put that back up there and do an edit poly on top of that. And I'll cut this point to this point. And I don't know if that will solve it, but a way to check is to go to your geometry, edit, swift loop, and hopefully it should loop round there. No. So just be wary of points like that. Try another cut there. So really these should all be quads, so that the loop doesn't go way off here. So this isn't the best example to show you, but when you're doing like a face and stuff like that for animation, you want to keep all these so they're all in loops or in a circle. So I'll just turn this off, and that'll do for now. So I'd collapse to all of this, and I could either use UV Master, or what I'll do is I'll use UV Master from Zbrush, to finish this off. I could do the UVs in this, or I could have had the UVs and the mesh done before I took it to ZBrush. So assuming this was your finished mesh that you'd done one way or another, maybe you didn't sculpt it, or maybe you did it all in Max with some turbo smoothing, and then you would have this with the UVs ready, or I'll show you another way to do it. So I'm going to export this, export selected, editable poly, I'll collapse down and choose an OBJ, desktop, and let's call this mask. And I'm going to choose the preset for ZBrush. Now open up ZBrush. I'll just initialize ZBrush. I'm going to import the mask, drag it out, press T to edit, and you can see that I will need to do the UV. So UV map I'll have as a 512, that's plenty of texture space for that, it could be smaller even. But okay, so I'm going to use the plugin here called see, I want decimation master, I want UV master, and first thing I want to do is work on a clone. So it makes a copy of it that you can work on for doing the UVs, and you can copy paste the UVs back over. So I'll do an unwrap, and I'll flatten it to see how it looks, and it's done a pretty good calculation of it. I don't need to do much with that at all, so I'll just unflatten, and that's a good UV map. So UV master's great, it's pretty good at predicting stuff. You can also enable this control painting where you attract the seam to like certain areas. So you would attract a seam in the middle here. Let's say that was the back of it, you'd want to do your seam down the back, under the neck, you know, round behind the ears and stuff like that, and then protect, you know, your main area, like, you know, the areas that you see, like the face, bits like that. So I'll try and once you've done that, you would do a unwrap, and it'll work off these seams. You can click on check seams, but in this case it's kept at the same. So if I flatten it, don't work on this, by the way, don't change this. Sometimes it messes up the model. You can relax it a little bit like it's a UV editor, but this is a kind of temporary setup it's got for showing you what the UVs look like. You kind of want to unflatten it again, and actually back to that. So it's been UV'd. Now I can work on doing the texture and things like that. So let's see, so texture I can do now from polypaint, and it should just be like a white, and it's got that, it's kept that brown colour around the edge there. Well, in fact, that's because I'm still working on the clone, so I'll go back up to the UV master and do copy UVs, and I'll go back to mask 1 here, and I'll do paste UVs. I'm going to choose a colour, and sometimes it doesn't colour it in because you need to go down to polypaint and turn texture. Anyway, I'm just going to fill the object with the colour I've got here and do new from polypaint. I've got a 512 by 512 map here. Texture's on. If the texture's on, it's using this area here. I'm not going to update it unless I turn the texture back off here. So like if I draw now, you see it's drawn on it. Okay, but I can turn the texture on and it's back to this one. So sometimes people will be trying to draw on it and be like, why is it not doing anything? we actually are doing something, and I turn the texture back off, you see that I just drew all that. So if I change the colour to red, let's see, kind of purpley colour here, turn the texture on, it looks like I'm not doing anything, but when I turn the texture off, you can see I've just drawn all this purple bit here. So you want to do new from poly paint every time you want to update your texture, so you can see it's updated, and the texture off, it's back into this kind of temporary mode where I'm just making new colours up, new texture stuff up. And if I hold down shift, I can turn the Z add off, make sure I turn these off and just have that on. I can blur out by holding shift. I'm blurring out areas. So I can also drag from here over to here, and it picks the colour, and I can use that colour to fill it in again. So I'll update the texture, just do new from poly paint. You'll see this will change, but automatically it gets switched on, so you need to switch it back off if you want to do more work on it. Okay, now from poly paint, and it updates it. Turn the texture back off. Now there's not enough detail in this to get some good little designs put on there, so let me turn X for symmetry on, and let's go to, let's just take this Z plugin, just close that, open the tool up, let's go to geometry, and I'll just divide with the smoothing on, doesn't really matter to me. I'll divide a few times. Let me undo that, I've just thought something. If you want to keep your shape, you want to crease it, so I'm just going to click crease once, and if I divide now, it keeps the overall shape. Sometimes it keeps squared off edges as well, if you've got some hard edges. It's kind of kept them there. I want to smooth them out just now, so I'll turn the Z on and RGB off, I can smooth them out. So I'm smoothing out bits that I want now, and divide, smooth out a bit more. 25,000, divide again, and I can start to draw on this here. More detail. Okay. Okay, so I'm just carrying on doing some textures for this. Once you've got, I don't want to go too much detail, but once you've got your texture done, you're quite happy with it, then you can export it. So I'm at the highest resolution here. I don't want to go down here and export, because it will just export that amount of detail. Like if I show you my texture there and I do create from poly paint, then it's just got that amount of detail in there. So I need to make sure this is up the highest. You see it still looks like that because the texture's still switched on, so I switch it back off, got that, and then I create from poly paint, and it's updated it. So you just need to be wary of this texture on and off type thing. It always gets me, even after years, 2 years of using this, I'll always go, why is it not drawn? And then it's always the texture map bit here, so that's under your tools part. So tool, texture map, and it's always this bit that gets me. So you can see the difference with the texture being on, a little bit pixely because it's only a 512 by 512. When you turn it off, it's using the polys to create it. So if I go to UV map and change this to 1024 and do new from poly paint, it will create a 1024 map, and it's not as bad, still a little bit pixely, so I could go, right, let's go 2048, new from poly paint, and it's a lot better. So I mean, it all depends, how much detail is needed. So it's only ever going to be a bit this big on screen. So 512, new from Polypaint, and there's really little difference, so that's kind of how I gauge my texture sizes. How big is it going to be on screen? If it's a bit bigger than that, does it still look okay? Yeah, it's fine then. Okay, so you got your texture there. You want to clone it. It comes over here to this texture block, and you can export it out up here. You have to flip it vertically because I think that's the way. It's not the way it works. I can't remember if I have to flip it vertically or not. So I'll need to export the OBJ anyway, so I'll go to the bottom level for the OBJ, subtool, not subtool, geometry, down to the bottom level, and I'll export that. And I could have drawn some bumps and stuff on it and did a normal map as well. I'll show you how to do that. So desktop, I'll just do mask from ZB. Just open up Max to see if I need to flip or not. Because I did the UVs in Zbrush, normally I do the UVs in 3ds Max, and if you do that, then in Zbrush you have to flip the texture vertically. So I'm just going to double check this. So this is the one that I exported out, so I can delete that. Just a little bit laggy at the minute. If the video's laggy, it's because I've got the settings fairly low, because it's going to end up a HD video, and you might see it. You might see the arrow jump now and again. So if you've seen the arrow jump, it's actually really smooth to me. Just bear in mind that. So it's not responding because it's so much RAM getting used in my computer at the minute. Get everything open as usual. I'm going to open here, should really be going to import. So mesh from ZB, mask from ZB, mask from ZB. That's the one I want. Just check the time on it, and I can tell. Pop that. Comes in as an editable mesh. I'll just change that to editable poly. And I'll go to the unwrap. Let's see, open UVW editor. And you can see that it is actually needing flipped because of the way it exports, so it's written that way. That's my little bit of cutting that I did earlier here, but it doesn't matter, everything's made up of triangles anyway, so not too fussed with that. Okay, so back into ZBrush, and got my texture there, go to texture, flip V, and then export. I'll just save that to desktop as well. I'm just going to clean up my desktop later when this is done. It saves it as a Photoshop file, bitmap or TIFF. I usually go Photoshop so I can easily work on it. I'll call that mask. Diffuse. I usually put ZB next to it so I know that it's the one that's come out of Zbrush or ZBrush or whatever you like to call it. Sometimes I call it ZBrush, sometimes I call it ZBrush. You say Z, I say Z. Okay. Right, I'm gonna do some bumping on this, so I'll just go to Z add. I'll turn off the RGB so I'm just drawing bump on it. I'll do it at the highest level here, and I'll just add some craziness. this is lazy mouse I've got on. Lazy mouse is great for doing these, you know, controlled curves. Okay, so let's assume that's the normal map. So I have to go to the bottom level that I exported and go to my normal map, and I think I usually leave all these on, tangent, smooth, and those on, but I check the flip V. That's normally what I do. Create normal map, and yeah, that looks kind of right to me. So I'll clone normal map, brings it over there, the same slot as the texture slot. So I'll go up to the texture menu, flip V, and then export, and I'll call that mask, diffuse ZB, and change that to mask normal ZB. And the last thing I want to do is create another texture. This texture is really just to, you know, for the specularity. So just bring that up to the top there. I've got the texture switched off, so I'm working in polypaint again, and I'll just choose a grey colour, and I'm just going to go to colour, fill object. Why is it blue? Why is it going blue? Anybody tell me why it's gone blue? The texture switched off. That's strange. Okay, colour, fill object. That's it. Right. Okay. Now, this grey means it's got medium specularity, black means no specularity, so it means when light hits it, you're not going to see the light shine off it. So I'll change that to RGB again, turn ZR off, press L to turn lazy mouse off, and I'll just paint, you know, areas where there's not really, like matted areas. I think of it as matted areas, and then light areas. So gloss areas, sorry, there's a gloss area with nose, and then it's matted under the eyes there. What we'll also do is mask by some masking here, and I'll mask by cavity, and you can see it's made these masks in these darker areas. Well, I'm just going to flip that by holding down Control and tapping, and that flips it round, and that means I can draw some dark areas, kind of like dirt's collected and the dirt's less shiny, so I can draw black around these bits here. I can hold down Shift and change that to RGB and smooth it out a little bit as well. Oops, that's way too much. Bring that down. Paint it in a little bit more and then smooth it out a little bit. And I'll hold down Control and I'll tap again, that flips it back, and I'll draw some white in these areas, and then hold down Control and drag a box, clears it, and now I'll just do some smoothing here. I'll bring that up a fair bit. Okay, so that's made what I'll use as a spec map. So I need to get that as a texture, same way as before. New from polypaint, and it creates this. It's a 512 by 512. I'll go some extra detail for the spec map. I could have did extra detail for the normal map as well, but I'll just do it in the spec map, save a bit of memory. New from polypaint, and if I switch it off and on, not too bad. Try the 512 again, new from polypaint. You know, the 512 isn't too bad, but yeah, I'm going to go 1024. Oops, I just changed that there. I don't know what that was at. New from polypaint. That's it. So clone texture, goes over here, up to the texture menu, flip vertically, export. And I'll call that mask spec ZB. Right, so I've got my three textures, my diffuse, my specular, and my normal. I'm going to open up Photoshop. In fact, I better save some memory here. I'm going to close Zbrush. Nah, don't bother, this is just a tutorial. I've got 3D coat open as well. Just close that, save some memory. I've got Word open, I'll close that. What else have I got open? I can close that. So much crap open. Okay. Right, so I will now close MSN. I'll now open my, let's see, desktop. I'll open all three of these, my diffuse, my specular and my normal. Okay, that's good. Spec map, what I'm going to do is just double click that, give it layer 0, I'm going to add a grey channel here. I'm going to fill this with grey, and I'll do, let's see, I think overlay, no, luminosity, color, exclusion, difference, difference might be what I'm after here. So I've got a grey layer with difference on it. I'm going to change the opacity a little bit. You know, I'll just leave it at that, and I'll just merge those together. I'm going to go to filter, other, NVIDIA normal map filter if you're using that one, but I use X normal and I'll do height to normals. Same thing, I prefer this X normal plugin. Change that up a wee bit, 1.8, a wee bit more. So this is just going to give me some extra bump detail, which I'm going to mix with this. So first I need to change the image size to 512, copy that, and I'll paste it, and I'm going to change that to overlay. I can muck about with the settings here. Okay, and I'll just merge those together. Sometimes I do this with normal mapping. I'll make a bump map and mix it with a normal map. I do this quite often now. So I'll save that, and when I'm finished I usually save it as PNG, and I'll take away that ZB because it's the final normal, mask normal, PNG. Okay, so I'm done with the normal map. Okay, I'm going to open up the spec map again, copy that and paste it here, and I'm going to change that to a multiply layer. Oh, again it's too big for it, so image size 5112, copy that, open that layer, paste that, change that to multiply, and I can bring the opacity down. This is just a little hint of like the dirt and stuff that's collected around the edges, like actually on the diffuse, so it's pretty good for that. There might be a few flaws here, like around the edges. I'd have to maybe, you know, erase some of the edges here, but I can keep it on like for extra dirt. It's a little bit too linear and too contrasted at the edge there, so I'm just going to rub it out. Right, okay. And I'm going to save that as the diffuse PNG. Take away the ZB. And that's me, my specular map's fine. So let's check this out. This is the best bit when you're ready to put the material on the actual object and test it in the engine and stuff like that. So let's put this Zbrush map on it. Zbrush has a tendency to kick out a bitmap file, and it's always flipped around the wrong way, so it ends up it just looks wrong. The black area of the map's been shown here when it should be flipped vertically, but I'll just go and find the one that I made anyway, which you should do it. So it's not this one, that's the one that it's kicked out. I can delete that altogether, but I might get some problems, so I'll do that. So I'm after PNGs, and there's my diffuse. I should apply that right away. Let me just collapse too, so I don't see that green edge. Okay. I'm also going to get into my usual thing here, preferences, viewports, driver, bring that up, pop that on. Okay, specular level. Spec map, where are you? Not saved it out as a PNG. And I resized it. I want to get that back. Right. Save as PNG. There's no real reason why I've made the spec map bigger. Just that I think I'll get more nice detail when the light hits it. Could be just for a good effect later. So mask spec PNG. Okay, mask specular PNG, where are you? I need to do a refresh. There we go. And the bump map. Usually change that to 100. And normal bump. Normal bitmap. Mask normal. Open. Okay, and if I render this out now, I should see it looks quite crazy. Quite crazy. Right. I want to preview this. So show as hardware display the maps. And there we go. You can see it's looking quite funky. I can mess about with the lights here. This is something I always tend to do. Omni light. This video is like an hour long now, so I hope you're maybe pausing it and watching the rest of it later. But it's almost at the end. pretty sweet. So I usually grab all the lights here and hide them. I can also muck about with any of the settings here, like the specular amount, the gloss amount. I can also make up a gloss map if I want, but I won't bother with that. Change the diffuse specular to 300. Yeah, craziness. Yeah, 200. Still craziness. Usually anything less than 100 is good. 50 was pretty good actually. Yeah, it's a lot better. You can see where that's messed up there, where I've added those triangles. So that's why it's important to avoid triangles, because some of these interpretations that happen, and you get, you know, misfired. There you go. Enjoy making your Phantom of the Opera mask. Okay, that's this tutorial over. I hope you enjoyed doing all this stuff. Maybe I'll go into animation the next time, but a lot of people are still at this stage, so I won't go too far. I promise. Do not kill me. Goodbye.